talk about this big issue, and I'm actually glad that you're here because I really wanted to get your perspective. Tory Lanez sentence 10 years in prison. Of course, we all know the incident between him and Megan Thee Stallion. He shot Megan Thee Stallion in the foot. Um, Maria, what's your thoughts about the whole situation? And before I let you go, I'll say this real quick. He deserves the consequences of his actions. He did it to himself. I did not like the fact that his attorney, Jose Baez, they brought up issues with Tory Lanez, such as alcohol and mental. And I'm like, regardless of all that, that still doesn't excuse what he did to Megan Thee Stallion. I also give kudos to Megan Thee Stallion because, it took a lot for her to actually go to court. It took a lot for her to actually tell and share her story. And, she wasn't believed. And the reason why she wasn't believed because not just any woman, she a black woman. And I think given who she is, her style, her personality and stuff like that, it just seemed like people just wanted to shut her up and say that she's lying. But when the facts prove that Tory Lanez did this, you know, so that's how I look at it. I feel happy that Megan Thee Stallion got her justice. What's your thoughts about it?
I think that uh, I'm not gonna speak on the case itself. I'm gonna more so speak on the like. I'm just gonna
I
say
can't hear you,
that
Maria.
I think. Can you
Okay,
hear me?
now I can hear you. Now I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, I think that 10 years it
What's up,
is.
SB?
Salute,
Salute.
Marie. Salute, PSP.
So
Uh, I think that the 10 years is is a good amount of years. Uh, he pulled the trigger, so it's like he could have killed.
Allegedly. Allegedly. Always say
Okay,
allegedly. Always say allegedly. Protect yourself in the media wise.
okay,
Always say allegedly.
allegedly pulled the trigger, which could have potentially, ended, Meg Thee Stallion's life.
Mm.
Thank God it didn't, but you know, um, and that's really, I mean, I'm not gonna be like one of those people who's gonna be like, I'm on Meg's side because she a black
Mm.
woman, but I can empathize with her in this situation, of course, of not being believed because she is a woman and things like that. Um, but it's a tough situation for both people to be in.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I can
mm.
say, really.
SB, what's your thoughts about Tory Lanez getting 10 years in prison? Do you feel like it was
Mm-hmm.
too light, too harsh? What's your thoughts about the whole thing?
Um, I think it was kind of too harsh from the fact of it's a lot of unknowns in a situation where it's a lot of factors that pointing to her friend maybe shooting her, and then there's also a lot of factors pointing at Tori like on and off apologizing for like the situation happening and apologizing for the shooting happening. If you pay attention to the court case of what's going on, I think 10 years was kind of a little healthy because even though Meg has a history of being like alcoholic, being too drunk, too turned up, and they had a relationship going on. And we also know that when you have relationships with people, which Toy was wrong with having a relationship with both friends, it causes a bad dynamic and extra things will be going on in a situation. So Tori put himself in a bad situation, and also Tori put in this bad situation from allegedly exposing the situation from what I have seen allegedly. Um, and I think when you put people in a dynamic, people and especially women, they move off emotions. And when that liquor in the system, people don't know how to act. And so we don't truly know if her friend shot her or Tori shot her allegedly, that she was hot, if she was shot. And I think Megan moving off was just like, oh yeah, every day I can't. I feel like my life is in danger, and then it's like, okay, I feel what you're saying, but then your actions are showing differently because right after she got shot, she was still twerking on stage. Because now, if her action showed that, then I understand what she was saying. because you know somebody moved him. She still was performing after that. She was still twerking on stage. She was doing things like that. So I think 10 years were kind of harsh. But also, I think Tory should have service, and maybe I think maybe like 2 or maybe like a year or 2 to service sentence, maybe sit down, because all this could have been avoided. But liquor, guns don't mix. Liquor and driving don't mix. Liquor and a lot of things don't mix, and I think they made a mistake of letting a liquor and a lot of things mix. So yeah.
Here's what I will say with the whole Megan Thee Stallion thing: whether she was twerking, and I was having this conversation with Brandon about it. He's like, how do you go from getting shot in the foot, or in your case, allegedly?
Allegedly. I always say allegedly, protect yourself because people sue.
Yeah, allegedly to twerking. But bottom line for me is, did it happen? So with Tory Lanez, the problem I have with his representation, Jose Baez, for those who may not know, this is the same attorney that represented Aaron Hernandez. Remember when Aaron Hernandez, it was later discovered that he had CTE. And look, my thing is, okay, I can understand you had CTE. I can understand it is a very severe disease. But am I supposed to ignore what happened with Odin Lloyd? Am I supposed to ignore all the other things that happened with Aaron Hernandez's life? And I understand Tory Lanez, if he has alcohol or substance abuse issues, because that's what his representation claimed, as well as him and his family. Okay, fine. I get that. Go get the necessary help that you need. But still, if you're trying to use that as a justification for allegedly, I got a problem with that. So the 10 years, look, he was about to face 22 years. I mean, I heard reports that he was facing 22 years plus possible I heard that he's from Canada, deportation, possible deportation and stuff like that. But 10 years, and a good thing about it though, in California, in the state, you can only serve half of it. So like 5 years, or federal 85%. I think at best, maybe about 3-4 years. Doesn't need to be that. I think it was too excessive though. I think 10 years is a bit too much.
Yeah, 10 years is excessive.
Right. But I do think there has to be consequences.
Yeah, because a lot of people was comparing it to like the Pop Smoke killers, even though they was younger. They was only getting like 4 years, 3 to 4 years. They was like, dang, he shot somebody in the foot allegedly, and Pop Smoke killers killed him, and they only did 4 years. So they was comparing a time situation from a murder to we don't really know who shot the person. So people got to understand this though too. And I learned this because I'm in I got my gun license in Chicago, and first thing I learned getting my gun license, everybody gun laws are different in a different state. Right. So with the law that he committed in California, might be different. It's different in Chicago or different in Idaho, Louisiana, and Texas and everything like that. So that's what people got to understand too. Also, people forget that because everybody's comparing it from their state dynamic, and that's not necessarily the case, because what he did is more serious in California, might be more serious in Louisiana, maybe less in Texas, or might be less of a sentence in Chicago. And that's what people got to understand. The law of the land is different in every aspect, and the people need to understand that, especially when you go travel. That's why Brittany Griner got that many years in Russia for some weed pen in Illinois or in the United States. She might have just got a slap on the wrist. The law of the land is different, and people need to understand that.
Right. And I also think because of the whole Ukraine situation as well, I think that intensified it, and why she stayed there longer than expected. But when you look at Tory Lanez, he was convicted on 3 felony counts: assault with a semi-automatic handgun, carrying a loaded and unregistered firearm in a vehicle, and discharging a firearm with gross negligence. So he was facing up to 20 years in prison as well as deportation. So I mean, look, I mean, it's really unfortunate. And so my next question for y'all is, are y'all still going to listen to Tory Lanez music? Because remember, SB, I know you in Chicago, right? I did a video on this, and I said, look, regardless of what anyone wants to say about him, he's a despicable, horrible human being. I still listen to R. Kelly music. I still listen to his music at the end of the day because I compartmentalize. I respect the art, not the person. I mean, I'm not comparing Tory Lanez to R. Kelly. Let me just state that for the record right there. But I'm just saying I can respect someone for their art and compartmentalize and acknowledge what the bad things that they've done. So with Tory Lanez, he's going to be in prison for a minute, but I'm still going to listen to his music. I hope while he's incarcerated, hopefully he can take some time to rehabilitate himself, get his life in order. But y'all still going to listen to his music regardless.
Go ahead, Maria. You go first.
Yeah. I listen to a lot of artists who
does the bad things.
Allegedly.
I always protect yourself. Say allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly done bad things.
Always protect yourself.
Are locked up for allegedly doing things. So I would definitely still. Tory Lanez is not a bad artist. Like he one of the best artists probably to come out of.
Yeah, he go crazy.
So he talented in his music. I just love his music, so I will definitely still listen to Tory Lanez, and I will continue to make the stallion.
Right.
So yeah.
For me, yeah, I love Tory Lanez music. I was a Tory Lanez fan before he got on, so I was one of like day one Tory Lanez fans because I found him on IG, and it was a video of this guy just surfing over the crowd because he was standing over the crowd like surfing like a surfer. I'm like, bro, what's going on? This crowd crazy. And so I've been listening to Tory Lanez since like day one. I'm not gonna stop listening to Tory Lanez, but if that was the case of that, we gonna stop listening to our favorite artists because the things they do, nobody will never listen to music because every single artist to be successful has done something bad. We got to keep it above. That's what it is.
No question.
So no, I'm not gonna stop listening to Tory Lanez.
And I agree. I mean, look. Just because you like the art doesn't necessarily mean you have to like the person. Right? And people have to compartmentalize. And SB, I know you in Chicago. I don't know how a lot of people in Chicago feel about R. Kelly. I don't know if they still listen to his music.
Every barbecue they still bump. It's like R. Kelly did nothing. I'm 100%.
Do they still bump it to Step in the Name of Love or Ignition?
What? Yes, they do a double time now, and they say free R. Kelly while they doing it. Yes, out here. Yes, I could 100% tell you that.